Thank you, Athan. I'm so happy to be here. I want to say hello to the members of the audience. First of all, need to give a praise, a shout out for May Douglas for her work as a volunteer on this. Athan's incredible leadership and vision, and the folk at the Community Foundation who have supported this effort. Uh, I started out thinking about this, and a song came to mind that I wanted to share with you. I'm not going to sing it, and I'm not going to share the whole thing with you, but lots of times when I think about when I'm preparing remarks, I think in terms of songs, and Big has often reminded me of the great Billie Holiday when she sang, "Them that's got shall get, them that don't shall lose." So the Bible said, and it still is news. And I'd like to add to that, unless something big happens. Philanthropy and Black philanthropy has not existed in my life for the greater part of my life. And by that, I want to take it back a little bit, not for long. The only philanthropy I knew for most of my life was tithing. And I'm saying Tithing. My mother was a blue collar worker who made minimum wage. And when I was a boy, minimum wage, as she once told me, they took more taxes out of my check than she earned. But one of the things that I remember about my mother is that she insisted on tithing. And my mom and I had many arguments about this, because in my brain, we couldn't afford to tithe. In my brain, the church had much more money than we did, and the church needed to be tithing us. But that's an argument that I absolutely never, ever won. She won that one. Fast forward to the 1990s, a very dear friend of mine was the vice president of development at a very prominent historical Black college, not North Carolina A&T. I know everybody thinks A&T is the center of the HBCU world, but not in this case. And he was bemoaning the fact that of the very prominent graduates of this institution, their giving was very disappointing. And he said something to me that stayed in my mind. He said, "You know, Jimmi, I'm not sure that even amongst the most prominent and capable Black folk in this country, that we've expanded our giving much beyond the church, our fraternities and sororities, and our immediate communities." So I'm going to fast forward to 4 years ago, and enter this young gun named Athan Lindsay. And I do admit, in full disclosure, I immediately shared a kindred spirit with him, learning more and more about his background in Winston-Salem, and trying to figure out how two boys like us ended up at a Davidson and an Amherst college. That one still blows my mind. Anyways, Athan presented two very stunning concepts to me that I want to share here today, and really represent the heart of why I am a donor and sit on the steering committee. One, Athan convinced me that Black people have been philanthropists for a very long time. And he brought to the table a lot of evidence to that point. Athan helped me to understand that one of the reasons why we as Black people maybe have not understood that we've been philanthropists and some of the biggest and most charitable givers in this community is because our gifts often don't make the big splashy noise. It doesn't make the big splashy sound. It's not the 5, 6, 7 figures. It's just that, like my mother, that weekly $10, maybe monthly $100 a month donation. But then Athan did something even more important. Athan sent me to school. Athan sent me to a conference in Atlanta on giving circles. And if you're not familiar with giving circles, I encourage you to get familiar with giving circles. And I learned at that conference that giving circles represent a community of people who decide to make a collective impact through strategically giving together. And that concept absolutely intrigued me. And on top of that, one of the things that I learned from from the people of color I met from Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, all over the place, was that oftentimes these giving circles served as a catapult for people to become more involved, engaged, and invested in their communities through school boards, through county commissioners, through city councils, through a variety of boards of directors, civic and community boards of directors, so forth and so on. And I just thought, I'm in. And so when I came back from that conference and May and Athan teamed up and started pushing Big out, I knew at that point in time that I was going to be a supporter of this effort. So Athan, I'm going to close now because I know you gave me 3 to 5 minutes.
Wait.
One of the things that sealed my commitment, and I want to make this really, really clear, was when COVID hit. One of the best things that happened, I think, to Big was COVID. Because COVID said, even to people like me who are on the front lines of the lives of poor children, is that as much as we like to think that things are cool, things ain't cool. COVID shined a light on the digital divide that absolutely haunts our children. And when that thing hit and we were all scrambling around trying to make sure the kids had devices and access to the internet, one of the first things I thought was, this would be an absolutely amazing project and effort for Big. And that's my story.
Well, thank you, Kendrick Spirit. You just open it up so we can get to the real deal here about big equity. I mean, I think you laid it out greatly that this is collective giving.